I love your hands. I think that they're beautiful.
I used to be a hand model.
I can see you doing that.
Kidding me.
Welcome to Second Class Cinema, the show where we watch a B movie and immediately discuss. I'm Tom. I'm here with Eric, Brittany, and Fallon.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Oh, thank you. Hello, everyone.
Hey, welcome back. Figured it would be good to have a professional on to help us talk about two really good movies.
I do consider myself a professional.
So do we.
Professional what? Don't even ask.
No, just a pro. All-around pro. So we had a double feature today for Horror Movie Month. Double feature! And we took in two scary ladies.
Yep.
We
sure did.
We watched 2002's May, and we watched 2009's The Loved Ones. I had a pretty good time doing it.
Female villains.
Were they really scary ladies or just two women who wanted to be loved?
I have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, they definitely had a lot in common. That's for
very
sure. So let's go into why we picked it. This is kind of a group pick. It's a double feature. Wanted to theme it a little bit. Scary ladies. Brittany, I know you're a scary lady.
I am a scary lady.
Possibly the scariest.
You picked May, though, right?
I did.
Yeah. So why did we watch May today?
I picked it just because I wanted an excuse to watch it. No, I just saw it a long time ago, and it pleasantly surprised me, and it's eked its way into being one of my favorite horror movies.
Yeah.
I guess it is horror, but it's
It
not
is.
like I don't feel like it's a harsh horror.
No.
Thriller?
More of a black comedy, I would say.
I would agree with that. It's unnerving.
It's not like too horrific for the most part.
Yeah, Brittany was doing air quotes when she said horror movie.
Yeah.
Which
Horror.
Yeah, this is we've kept it really secondary for Horror Movie Month. That's been like such a small touch to the movies we've selected. I find that was weird. That was a strange.
The range is so wide, though.
It is.
I think we're just taking this as an excuse to watch some of our favorite movies.
True. I mean, if you go to Blockbuster,
R.I.P.
good luck. But if you go to a Blockbuster,
Tell us where you are.
Congratulations,
Where
because
did
you
you
went back in
find
time.
yeah, tell us where you are.
Congratulations, Doc Brown. It was successful.
But you would find May in the horror section, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
let's base it on that.
And that's where I found it all those years ago,
Is
and
this-
I've loved it ever since.
Is this the same copy I bought you in 2004?
It is.
Nice.
For Christmas or my birthday or something?
I don't know. But I bought it a long time ago, over
true.
10 years ago. All right, so what's May about?
So May is about a woman who has had a very lonely life and has never really had any friends. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it started with her domineering mother, but that's a tale for another time. She meets a man who she becomes infatuated with. Basically, this movie is just a series of her trying to connect with people and being shut down and just growing increasingly more unstable as the movie progresses.
That sounds about right.
I don't think I can get any more specific than that without getting way too specific.
That sounds pretty good.
All right.
I think that was a good summation. We'll save the loved ones for a little bit later in the episode, so we'll continue on with May.
Okay, you clowns, cut the crap.
Successes?
everything about Angela Bettis as May. I mean, she is just a creepy little kitten. I think. I think it's the tight-lipped smile and the hunching shoulders and the little head nods.
She's like endearingly awkward.
She's adorable.
I was trying to remember. I should have looked this up. She ends up playing Carrie White in the TV version, doesn't she?
Correct. Yeah.
So I feel like for those who don't know who Angela Bettis is, that's probably a good touch point.
She was also the anorexic patient in Girl Interrupted.
Oh, yeah, she was.
Oh, hey, yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I thought the cast overall was a strength of this movie. I love Jeremy Sisto.
Yeah.
He's an angel baby. And Anna Faris is fantastic, as always.
Yeah, I think Anna Faris is funny. She was a little She's a little loopy in this movie, I was going to say, but that's also the name of her cat. But no, yeah, the cast was fantastic. I thought the acting was really good for the most part. I mean, there's a couple of moments where I was like, oh, but Angela Bettis always on.
Yeah.
So
Do you think that those moments were just the writing or like the actors themselves?
I don't know.
Did you have like a specific moment in mind?
I mean, there were some times when, but see, it was consistent with Polly, which was Anna Faris's character.
Yeah.
She was like, there's a couple of things she said that just seemed really unrealistic,
Like
and
staged. I felt like
Yeah,
she was
it was a
kind
bit
of
staged.
I felt like her character was kind of phony.
yeah, but
to begin
that
with.
could be it too.
I'd agree with that. I mean, I don't want to jump right into failures, but for me, and it's funny because I love Anna Faris too. I mean,
Yeah.
from the Brady Bunch movie, of course, and even the first Scary Movie, really. But it almost felt like she's kind of play acting compared in a story where everyone else is doing sort of these bizarre, awkward, muted, naturalistic performances, and she's this over the top vixen.
Yeah.
It something about it for me that was ending in failure. It wasn't quite mixing in with everyone else.
Yeah, I agree with that. It wasn't on par with everyone else's performance.
Yeah, it wasn't enough to even veer this movie off the tracks,
No.
like, even a little bit, but to be noted. Anything else?
Well, I mean, I just wanted to continue on to that point a little bit. We see May's character kind of take on that role to some extent near the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And she does so much better of a job of playing that kind of character than Faris does that it really seems extra cartoonish once we get to that point in the movie.
I
That's a good
agree.
point.
I
Yeah.
kind of
Totally.
made a note of that as well. She like by the end, she was kind of like using the people around her to morph her personality into what she thought was normal according to everyone else. So I thought that was interesting. I really love Jeremy Sisto's character in this movie. Like, I feel so bad for Adam, and like, I don't know. I just feel like he does a great job. Like, he seems like a nice guy, and I feel bad that he has to make the decisions that he's making because, let's be real, she's creepy.
Yeah, she is creepy. Like, I don't think he did anything wrong.
No, and
it's
he's
kinda
like
sad.
continuously nice to her and like tries to like patch things up, but she's just fucking out there.
Yeah, she's definitely weird.
No, his biggest problem was that, I mean, and this was part of what I really liked too, the whole thing of these characters who are saying, oh, I like weird, I love weird, I like weird, I
Yeah.
love weird, and him clearly like trying, you can just see that he's constantly weighing the scales in this movie of, do I go for it? Yeah, I mean, could be an adventure, I guess. Yeah, you know, might as well try.
Yeah,
I mean,
like she's weird, but why not?
yeah, I think like his commitment to maybe have a freaky sex story was probably his undoing in this movie.
Well, I got the feeling that he was like genuinely interested in her just because of how strange she was.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's super quirky. You could. I feel like I got everyone's attraction to her because Polly was attracted to her, Adam was attracted to her, and so I was like, well, I get it. She's totally interesting. You kind of want to break the shell, find out what's there, but actually, you don't. You don't. Not with her.
Because, I mean, she's strange, but she's not like unkind or anything. She's
Yeah.
quirky and kind of childlike. I don't know.
Very childlike. I feel like Angela Bettis does awkward so well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I bought it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I liked everyone so much in this movie. I felt bad for. I mean,
Everyone.
everyone.
involved.
Yeah.
Everybody.
May
Like,
is a very
Tragedy.
sympathetic villain, in my opinion.
It was a total tragedy. Yeah, everything about this.
She's a tragic villain. I love the soundtrack of this movie. The breeders everywhere. It's great.
Yeah.
Of the hanky panky. I mean, okay, so the highlight of movie for me, or one of them, is probably Adam's
Short film.
Yes, his
Yeah.
short film. I was going to call it a masterpiece, Tom.
I'm sorry. I
His
got
short
excited.
film, if we want to trivialize the art, the
The
of
awesomeness of it.
Yeah, no, I definitely liked his short movie, and I liked how I loved her reaction to it. She was just like, "Oh man!" And she just got closer every time something weird happened in his movie. She just got a little closer, and a little closer, and then she like tried to replicate that in the bedroom, and that's when it
Yeah.
totally turned weird. And his movie was about people eating each other.
You can kind of see a look on Adam's face like, I'm not sure if I like that she likes this.
As much as she does.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he's used to being the May of that situation. Like, oh, I'm the one that's too weird for this. So yeah,
I really like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm a little weird, you know?
Yeah. Well, he was definitely into the fact that she liked it because it like cut to them in the bedroom right
Yeah.
Oh,
after.
yeah.
But I loved how It was about people eating each other, and she was like, I don't think she could bite his finger off in one bite, though. I thought that was a little far-fetched. I was like, out of everything, that's what you thought was far-fetched. I thought that was clever.
Yeah, he was good. Anything else?
I like the way this movie kind of builds tension in a very kind of innocent way. You have like this good like hour of not really knowing where this movie is going to go, but you do know it's going to go wrong. It's the first thing I wrote down is it feels like a Saturday Night Live sketch gone horribly wrong.
Okay.
Like about this character that's kind of like weird and quirky, and like you don't quite know how things are going to like explode. It's going to happen eventually. And then what I found really cemented this is when she runs into like that weird like Mohawk punk guy who seems like a regular Saturday Night Live character that doesn't murder people. And you kind of see like that contrast, and I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that.
Yeah, I think this movie is well written. It somehow manages to combine disturbing and kind of sad things with comedy really well.
Yeah, I found myself laughing a lot at May herself, just in all of her reactions.
Even things that were like disturbing, like when she threw the ashtray and killed the cat.
Yeah.
And then she was spraying it with Lysol.
For like an
She's
hour.
like, oh, loopy.
Yeah, aside from the writing, which I also agree was strong, I think just the way that it's directed by Lucky McKee, of the way so much of the movie is about her falling in love with people's parts, and you know, so many perfect pieces, not a perfect whole. And I think just the way it's directed, of like kind of like the fetishizing of like the hands and the neck, and just these really kind of slow lingering shots that not a lot of people would take the time to do. They might just show the hands once or twice, but like this, like the camera like labors over him, like taking his cigarettes out.
Yeah. I can
Really
appreciate
cool.
that.
Yeah, no, it really helped move things along. Anything else for successes, guys?
Well, I guess something that kind of speaks to what you were just saying. I just like how this movie's take on people's expectations and relationships in general. Like, people get so hung up on what they think, like what they want people to be and what they think they are, that when reality settles in, it's like a ghoulish nightmare. She was like, you're perfect. She was like, nobody's perfect. And I was like, yeah, that pretty much summarizes this entire film.
Yeah, I thought this movie didn't stretch too far outside of what it knew it was supposed to be, because I feel like some of these movies may have a tendency to go a little, to try things that maybe they know they might be able to get, but they don't get it. This movie kind of kept itself contained enough to make sure that all the good parts, the successful parts, were what they needed to be. That makes sense? I didn't think it tried to do things that it thought it couldn't do with this character.
No,
Like,
I agree.
Everything was contained, I guess is the best word to say it.
I mean, the end is a little over the top, but everything else is pretty well contained, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm talking as far as, I don't know, like what they could accomplish with the movie they were making, as opposed to just the characters.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like believable character actions.
Oh, no.
I
Oh.
was like, that takes a little swan dive at the end, but yeah, for the most part.
No, like they built towards this big moment, and there really wasn't a lot going on. They were really teasing you a lot throughout the whole movie, and then let the big moment happen right at the very end. Like, but it didn't like drag. You were just curious.
A lot of the times when we talk about movies with these long build-ups, it's usually because the long build-up is really boring.
Yeah.
And the build-up is actually a lot of fun to be on the ride for.
Yeah.
I would almost say that almost hurts the very last part of the movie, just because everything with Jeremy Sisto in the beginning is so strong, and that once he leaves the scene, so to speak, things you kind of miss. Like the build up is so fun in the beginning that by the end you sort of miss those characters that have helped the movie.
It really is so fun, and I found all the parts with them like super endearing and adorable. And I was like, oh, they have an awkward, weird romance. It's so cute.
Yeah, I kind of didn't even... I mean, the first time I watched this movie a long time ago, I had no idea what it was about, and I was kind of curious. I was like, okay, well, what's going to eventually happen here? And then as everything started to unfold at the end, I was like, oh, this is where we're headed. Okay, I like this. This is creepy. She's creepy. It's gross.
Tom, would you say you like weird?
I love weird.
As much as J-Sist, or not really?
No, not really. Not as much as Jay says.
I also really like all the awkward moments in this movie. Like, I like the way that they portrayed them. I found them to be realistic, but also kind of charming.
Yeah.
Like when she was like, "You have beautiful hands," and he's like, "I used to be a hand model," and she's like, "I could totally see you doing that." And he's like, "I'm just kidding." It's like all the little things like that I thought were just so cute. And she like slaps him, and it's like way too hard.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay."
She lanes him.
Yeah.
Just the little stuff like that. I like how this movie, I feel like it kind of makes you focus on the characters and emotions, and there's like little weird things that happen, like horror things that happen throughout it that kind of drive it, but mostly it's about people's relationships,
Yeah.
which I appreciate, and it's a nice change of pace from your typical slasher.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in the end it kind of felt like one. She kind of did her thing. Anything
She
else?
slashed. That's for sure.
I mean, I guess if we don't have any successes, we can talk about where the movie fell short.
I don't really have a whole lot of failures.
No?
My one unbelievable thing was that I didn't believe that she could overpower Jeremy Sisto. He's like 6'4", she's like 5'0",
He was
and she weighs like 40 pounds.
Yeah, that was the one part where the writing started to feel like they're like, oh, quick, here, make him say something. I'm really drunk.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, his
Oh,
girlfriend
got it.
did just get stabbed in the neck and a fountain of blood sprayed on his face. So, I mean, that could be kind of distracting, but I just found that to be a little
Mildly.
a little unbelievable.
I'm curious what everyone felt about. So when May finally does make the switch to flat murder, like when she goes after James Duvall, aka Arm Guy, and
Okay,
like,
Frank the Bunny.
yeah, and then like did Anna Fair, of course I wanted it to go there because it's the movie and it's what the movie needed. Like the movie needed to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose all of this did come right after her brain breaking when she sees her doll get broken by the blind kids. But there is like towards the end that little bit of unraveling where you're kind of like, has she been staying consistent all the way through? Like, did we really earn getting here? And
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I think I liked the build to her turn. I think I bought it. I think when this is also a really weird part. I mean, I guess since we're on failures, so her volunteering for the blind kids school, like that came out of nowhere. That was only in there to service her official breakdown and turn.
Yeah.
But I don't know what her motivation for joining it really was. I don't get that.
I think she was just lonely and she wanted something to pass the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the impression that I got.
That's not enough.
no, it's strange because at first I was going to answer you say, oh well, she wanted to be around people who couldn't see or judge her, but then at the very end we know all she really wanted was to be seen.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and that
kind of strange.
and that calls back. I mean, because even when she was first trying to get Adam's attention, Jeremy Sisto's attention, she was just doing that. She was trying to be seen. She was just trying to get noticed. She was walking by him. She was bumping into him. She was trying to sit in his eye line. Just like trying to be noticed. And then all of a sudden, she wants to hang out with these blind kids.
I think that's what made me feel so bad for her when she finally has her break and murders James Duvall in her kitchen. I really, really felt bad for her. I feel like you don't get sympathetic villains very often.
Yeah.
And I feel like she was made a villain. She wasn't like born a villain.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I feel like people just rejected her entire life and she just couldn't take it anymore. And it makes me really sad for her.
Yeah. All because of her lazy eye and her overbearing mother.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Well, what kind of little kid doesn't want to be friends with a pirate? They're the idiots, if you ask
She was
me.
just like a shy, awkward, little adorable girl. Unlike the villain in our second movie, who I'm pretty sure was just born insane.
That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense.
Should be some interesting compare and contrast there. between
Yeah,
the movie.
yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple questions for that later.
Yeah, no real failures, except for that one unbelievable part.
There was just a couple of moments where there was, full service to get us to where we had to be, which I can forgive.
I think you
ultimately.
articulated it well of what exactly the kind of sticking point was for me, because it's really not the murder. It was just I think you honed in on it with the blind kids.
Yeah.
But
out
I
of
love
left
this
field.
movie, so anything that I'm calling a failure is kind of like searching
It's like a
for
nitpick.
something. Yeah, it's a
True.
nitpick.
Yeah, once again, this is our job, right? We get paid to do this.
Professionals.
How many envelopes have we
Professional.
gotten?
We've gotten hundreds of envelopes filled with $10 bills. But yeah, all right. So I guess if there's really not much to talk about as far as failures go, we can highlight some favorite parts. Would we like to call any specific moments out that we all really enjoyed?
Pretty much any moment where May was stalking Adam was hysterical. The timing was brilliant. I think there was one scene where she like hides behind a telephone pole like Daffy Duck.
When she did that, I was like, that illustrates how tiny she is, because she actually walked behind a telephone pole and actually
She
vanished.
just disappeared from
I love on one of their early, we'll call it a date, on one of her and Jeremy Sisto's early dates when they're awkwardly eating their sandwich and she decides to try to endear herself to him by telling him a disgusting story about a dog sutures ripping and bleeding out all over the place, and his horrified owner finding him. It's a perfect love story. It really set the tone.
She's so like adorable for it. She thought it was so funny in a way. Yeah,
I know.
I liked her.
She was just
reaction.
amazed by the story. But I
Yeah.
was a little like, really? When she was saying that people think it's creepy that she works at an animal hospital. I was like, that's like the least creepy thing you could ever do.
Yeah.
Like, nobody thinks veterinarians are creepy.
It's very possible that she has just walked around telling people that story, and that's why they think that.
That's highly likely. I did not think of that. I love when she first gets her contacts and she's trying them on in her room, and she puts her hair over her face and goes over her to her doll to like surprise her and show her new contacts. I feel like that little part embodies like the entirety of what May is. Like
Yeah.
her childlike excitement
Yes.
to have one person to show things to, even
Yeah.
though it's a fucking doll and it's not a real human.
Yeah. I like
thought that was funny.
Yeah, there was some small, I guess it's more like favorite parts, but there were small little quirks that Angela Bettis did that were just so good. Like when they were, I think the first time she smoked a cigarette with him, she had never done this before,
Or seen someone smoke a cigarette before.
Yeah.
she like, or the second time, because the first time she's awful. The second time she did it, she like lit it, and then she almost grabbed it with like the wrong fingers, and then had to like change. I was like, man, that was so good. Like such a small little thing to do that totally sold
Oh,
her exact mentality.
she's so bizarre with her hands, especially when she's around Jeremy Sisto. I think probably like when they're in the bedroom and she's just fluttering her hands all around.
I know they're like making out. She like doesn't know where to put them. They're
Yes.
just like in the air.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Oh yeah, but the veterinarian part that you were talking about with the dog bleeding out, I just thought it was funny how Jeremy's sister was like, disgust me, please.
Yes.
And then he really is.
He's like, I like gross, disgust me.
Anything else? What else do we have?
I thought all of her custom wardrobe was fucking cool.
Yeah,
I wanted everything that she made.
yeah, she's really good. I mean, that was what she did. She stitched things together, right? She was a seamstress
Yeah.
and an
Vet
A stitcher of
assistant?
anything.
She was a master
Yes.
sewer.
I know, right?
Master sewer, yes.
we could say that, yeah.
A master sewsman.
I think one of my favorite parts would be just kind of that end montage of her piecing everything together.
Like washing the body parts. And
Yeah, I guess just getting like her whole journey through collecting them, and then bringing them upstairs, putting them all together, and then her looking at her finished product. I liked that whole piece. That was very good.
Yeah, it was a little montage. It was
Yeah.
like fabric flying through the air, like doll parts and
Just like
all that.
bisexual Frankenstein.
I know. I really liked that Frankenstein nod in this movie. It was like, oh, she's the monster, but really it's society.
Yeah.
Society who looks down on pirates.
I know, right? Like, what little kid would be like, you're a pirate? No? Okay, bye.
That was the question. And she said no, and then every kid was just like, oh, well, I guess we can't talk to you now.
If you're a pirate, it'd be different.
I also really liked the part where Adam opened his door to leave for work. She was just standing there. And he's like, how long have you been out here? And she's like, 2 hours. He's like, you really haven't been out here since 2 a.m., have you? And she's like, what do you think? I was like, you're so insane. I love you.
Yeah. All right. So I mean, I guess we can, if we don't have anything else to touch on, we can go to ratings, right?
Yes, we rated at the end.
That's what happens?
Yeah.
I almost said favorite parts again. So we have to talk about them all over.
I want to watch the special features on this movie because I feel like I know very little about the making of it and the background and all that. I read that it was based on Amanda Plummer's character in The Fisher King. which I haven't seen since I was really young. Rob Williams.
Yeah, no, I know. It's a Terry Gilliam movie, right?
Yeah. But I was like, that's interesting. I couldn't really find anything about this movie, like any background or trivia. Nothing.
It's strange.
The budget was $500,000,
Wow, really?
which was fucking tiny.
Well, I mean, yeah, that is much smaller than I thought, considering the talent they had in it. But I mean, I know it was just like 2002. But I mean,
Yeah.
Jeremy Sisto was pretty much what he is at
Breaking
that point.
hearts since '93.
Not to go down a Sisto wormhole.
Oh, take me. I'm yours.
Oh, we're in.
Did you know that Sisto is going to be in a new ABC drama starting next week called Wicked City?
No.
Where he plays a detective in 1981 or 1982 Los Angeles Sunset Strip, where Chuck Bass from Gossip Girl is a serial killer working the Sunset Strip.
I'm so on board.
He meets
sounds
another
amazing.
sociopath who I might start killing together with, or at least enters a relationship with, and Sisto is like tracking these two sociopaths in 1982 Los Angeles, and I cannot wait.
Sisto.
That's awesome. I
is
did
it
not even know that
called?
existed.
Wicked City.
Ah, yeah, you said that. I'm dumb. We'll have to look.
I liked it better the second time. You put a little, little snap to it.
Yeah. Jeremy Sisto is awesome.
Yeah.
So we'll have to check that out.
Yeah, no, I'm in. All right, let's rate it. So let's rate it then.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with.
Yeah,
fuck
I'm gonna
you.
have to give it an unfortunate fuck off.
Oh my god, my fucking father.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
All right, let's rate May 2002. Fallon, are you familiar with the rating system? You've done this once before, but do you remember how it goes?
I believe I remember.
Okay, so we won't bore anyone with an explanation that is really explicit.
Just follow our lead.
Who wants to start? Who wants to rate May?
I'm gonna give it a fuck yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I've loved this movie since I saw it. It's quirky and charming and sad and disturbing, and the performances are great, and the writing is good, and the story is engaging, and I love it.
Yeah. Wow. All right. I'm pretty sure
And you should watch it.
Pretty sure you've given most things this month a fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Pretty sure.
That was the whole reason for this month, right? To watch stuff that's awesome.
We should just call it fuck yeah month then.
Nope, because I have some picks coming up.
Doesn't matter. We're already locked in. All right, who else? Eric, would you like to?
I can rate it.
Rate it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with fuck yeah as well.
Okay.
Yeah, like Brittany said, this is an extraordinarily charming movie. If you took out like the last 20 minutes, you could make it into a romantic comedy, which I would like to see a cut of.
Yeah.
A very strange romantic comedy.
I like the framing of the villain as also being the protagonist. It makes her extremely sympathetic, and I think that's very unique for this kind of genre. After hearing the budget, I find the production value to be very impressive.
Yeah,
it's a
definitely.
good-looking movie.
Definitely.
It's very well shot, very well written, very well acted. There's not much negative I can say about it, really.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Though I do have one criticism. How come she was obsessed with Adam's hands and not his hair?
I know when her hands were fluttering, I was like, girl, you know where to put those.
Right in the flow. What's the matter with you?
Right in the flow.
He's got pretty great hair in this.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice looking.
He's a babe. We can just all admit.
Yeah. Fallon, what do you want to give this movie?
Give it a fuck yeah.
All right.
Oh man, one of my favorites. I tend to like horror in quotes more than horror out of quotes, and for me, this is when I find a movie like this, I get really excited. It feels really special. It's kind of in the same vein of like the way that like a movie like Ginger Snaps is really close to my
Love
heart.
Ginger Snaps.
Oh, yeah.
This is right in that same wheelhouse and is the sort of movie that I don't find too often, but really speaks to me the most.
Agreed. Because you have like the last half hour, which is the real horror.
Yeah.
And I feel like without the rest of the movie, it would be blah. It would just be unremarkable.
Yeah, it's because this movie takes so much time with the human element and like the awkward human element. It's so good.
Yeah. I'll on all those points, I will also give it a fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Completing the fucking sweep for May.
Hooray.
Yeah.
Sweep.
It's great. It's a great flick. And if you, I mean, this is, I feel like
Third sweep this month.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I wouldn't see anyone not enjoying this movie who would go out of their way to watch this movie.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's one of those. I could probably show it to most of my friends, and most of them would say, "Oh, that was pretty good." It should be
it's
universal.
special.
Yeah, it
There's
is.
something special about it.
Yeah, I
It
can't
is
really
adorable.
say I've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
I just could never say that about this movie, which isn't something you can say about most movies.
It's very true. I just don't understand what anyone could not like about it.
Yeah, I mean, I would see how someone would kind of maybe check out if they were like, you got to watch this horror movie where this girl stitches all these body parts together, and then an hour in, they're like, Jesus Christ, where is this happening? Like, as long as you don't pitch it as like this, something it's not, then I think expectations are in line and the movie's good.
Agreed.
Any final thoughts on May before we move on to the loved ones?
That'll be all.
All right. All right, let's start going down the path for the loved ones.
Slightly more horrific path.
I'm going to your house now. I'm going to stab your mummy in the neck, just like you did to my daddy. And then I'm going to stab Holly in the heart, just like you did to me.
This was technically the group pick. Who wants to explain what the loved ones is about? Who wants to try? Well, it's not hard. It's simple in nature.
It's Australian prom night in Australia. And there is a young man whose name I can't remember.
Brent.
Brent?
Brent.
Oh, Brent.
Brent,
I
okay.
got it wrong.
I thought it
the
was
whole time.
Bran, and then I looked it up, and I was like, okay.
You know, those Australians, they love their fiber. They name their kids after it. Bran. Brent is a young, troubled metalhead who accidentally kills his father in a car crash. And now it is 6 months later after the car crash and his prom night. He is going to the prom with his girlfriend. A girl named Lola asks him to go to the prom, and he says he is already spoken for. And then he is kidnapped by Lola's father, and they have their own little horrifying prom in the kitchen, where he is basically tortured for about an hour.
All right.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
Pretty much did good. Found anything to add to that?
I think that we're going to get into what I want to add pretty soon, which is the depths of Lola's father's love for her.
Oh, yeah.
This
It's,
kidnapping was an act
real
of love.
deep.
Yes.
I just wrote incest in huge letters.
Let's see. I don't think that we ever got there. I don't think that ever actually happened. May have been in some people's minds, but let's go into successes then. Actually, do we have a why we picked it? Do we go into why?
Thematic reasons.
Yes.
Oh, because you wanted to pick May, and then we wanted to make an actual relevant double feature. So
Yeah.
it's like, well, let's do Scary Ladies.
Do some villainesses.
All right.
I actually think there's going to be some interesting compare and contrast here, because whereas May is shown from the perspective of the villain, this is kind of shown more from the perspective of the victim.
Yeah.
Whereas the villain is really more of a stock villain, but they're kind of this, like Lola and May are kind of
They're-
similar characters.
Very similar.
They're both mentally unhinged.
Lola is
Filled with
much
yearning.
less
Yes.
sympathetic.
Yeah. Well, I think the loved ones actually. So I mean, May. It was all about May and her actions. This was about all of Brent. But this movie definitely flipped at times to give you Lola's perspective.
Yeah.
It made you feel what she was feeling very effectively at times. You know, like her fear and her odd happiness in these moments. Those came across so good.
It gave you a good idea of how long her depravity has existed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a process there.
Pretty much since birth, I'm gonna wager.
Unless this is like almost as if they had made a movie just about the last like half hour of May. Like maybe Lola used to be, more of the level.
Maybe.
I know, but no, we know from the photo album.
Yeah.
And by the photo album, I'm
The
referring
oldest photo
to,
in that photo album, the kid was
yeah.
like 10.
Yeah,
I was
we
like,
kind of
yeesh.
get a sense that her father has been kidnapping potential suitors for Lola for years.
Yeah, years.
Now, this is a chicken egg problem. Who did he start kidnapping for her, or did she ask him to start kidnapping for her?
I honestly don't know. That's a good question.
Like, who was was she born crazy, turning him crazy because he loves his daughter, or was he insane and she was raised in an insane household and became nuts?
It's a good question, and it kind of raises the question as to who is really truly more sympathetic. Is it May or is it Lola?
Oh, it's definitely May.
Yeah, of course, but we're just positing.
Okay,
Is any of that really Lola's fault if it's because her father was a crazy person.
My gut instinct, and my guts have been real loud today,
It's all that Chinese.
is that it was Lola that was the crazy one. She grew up insane and turned her dad crazy. Like his love for her made him nuts, just like she was.
I was wondering, I have a question to kind of go along with that. Was Bright Eyes her mom?
Yes. Because when she suffocated her, she said, "Good night, mommy."
I just didn't know if she was being crazy.
I didn't know that either. Like, if this was maybe like her fifth mom. Like, have there been many? Have there been many mommies?
And that's what makes me think, was maybe the dad insane and doing this to women, but he was obviously in love with his daughter, so he was like, "Hey, we can do this for like your boyfriends too."
Yeah. Well, that's a good point too. I assumed that. So the story that I created in my head for this was that was her actual mother, and that she used to not get along with her mom.
Yeah, and like made the dad do that to her.
And made the dad do it. Like then they did it to her first, and they're like, "Ooh, we like this."
That's probably what it was.
That's
buy that.
Yeah.
That's beyond creepy.
Because like the look,
Bright eyes.
the look in his eyes, dude. Sometimes he is so good. This actor.
I just wrote that he looks like Iggy Pop. Because he does.
And I guess we should probably specify what the this is, and the this is like doing this to the mom means.
That's a good point. We've been really inconsiderate.
Yeah,
I know. I was gonna say, should we just take it from the top?
Yeah.
But you can explain what it is.
What the this that they like to do to new members of the family is drill into their head just past the skull.
Yep.
Not too deep. And pour boiling water into their skull to boil their brains.
You know, like the Jeffrey Dahmer treatment.
Yeah, it's a total zombify technique.
Yeah.
Trying to destroy that frontal lobe. It's gross.
It's unfortunate, yeah.
All right.
You know what? That brings me to my first success.
Perfect.
Maybe a favorite part, but I'll qualify as a success because I'm lazy. I like that this movie began by hinting that there's zombies, and we get a reasonable explanation as for why there was like a zombie-like dude kind of walking around, and it wasn't a zombie.
Oh,
I
yes.
like that twist.
Yeah, me
I thought
too.
that was very clever.
You kind of catch a glimpse of a bloody dude in the road right before the car crash.
Yeah.
And then you're like, hey, did I really see that? Or what?
We're watching a zombie movie. I'm going to see zombies. And then an hour in, I was like, wasn't there a zombie in this movie?
I thought that was an excellent. This was such an open shut movie. Like it showed you, it told you, and it was over. And I really appreciate it for that.
I really like the way this movie builds tension in an entirely different way than May does. I felt like this movie built tension with Lola's insanity. Like they would start off with something like her trying to feed Brent the chicken.
Yeah.
And she's like, is it finger licking good? Say it's finger looking good. And he just keeps refusing to do things, and she gets more and more insane, and then you're like, fuck, what is she gonna do? Like, it just builds up kind of comedic moments like that, but then it gets to a boiling point and you're like, oh shit, she's gonna snap and do something terrible.
Yeah.
And you're kind of just waiting to see what she's going to do. But I really appreciated that. I thought it was effective.
Yeah, I mean, that whole eating scene was so gross for a lot of different reasons.
It was gross. The fact that she had a milk mustache through that whole scene.
Dude.
Oh yeah, I don't want to see
disgusted
anyone
me.
chug milk on screen.
Dude,
No
all,
way.
all that dairy phlegm in her teeth.
Oh, it was gross.
Like, I don't know, like that made me actually that's like a real scary thing to do, because that just shows you how little they fucking care. Like they have chicken grease
Like
and
how they
milk
look.
all over their mouth, and they're like looking at you like, oh, we can't hear you, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so terrifying. They don't care. They have no cares at all.
She's like telling him that her dad is gonna nail his dick to his chair, and she has like a milk mustache, and I was like, why is this extra scary?
It's their lack of care, man. It's real.
Yeah, I loved the tension in that part too.
And
Yeah.
like another success for
Peeing.
me, like for him, like in particular, for Brent as the victim that this is all happening to, I just really liked that this was like an imperfect person who had been snatched. Because I feel like a lot of the time in these movies, you see like the killer, if you will, focus on like someone who, oh, they're a normal everyday person. This could be me, and that's kind of how they try to make it scary. But in this
Mary
was,
next door.
yeah, Mary next door. Of course, she's like the target of desire. But in this, like, it's like she focuses on like an imperfect person, and the fact that she thinks that imperfect person is perfect kind of shows even more how she's just like a totally dehumanizing monster. Like she doesn't even see that this is like a poor misguided metalhead who just killed his dad.
Yeah.
And it's
Like a depressed, self-harming kid who's dealing with guilt from his dad's death.
Yeah.
She's just like, you're cool. You have emo hair. Take me to
Yeah,
prom.
that's all she sees. And for me, like that was a big success for that, was just his backstory and how that worked into how you want him to survive, and just the like savage way he reacts later and how he can kind of deal with the pain perhaps more than others could.
Yeah, no, I really liked the scene in which he had escaped once. They captured him back, and they were hammering knives into his feet, and she was yelling at him to cry, and he was like, another thing he was refusing to do, and it just showed his his threshold for the accepting all this pain, because he had already dealt with so much shit that he was almost just like, fuck it.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting parallel to how May just assumed everyone, like people were perfect based on her own shortcomings and disappointment in life, but Lola was just too wrapped up in her own insanity to realize that someone was not perfect, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I like that.
I loved the acting in this movie. Like everyone nailed it.
Oh yeah,
I bought it hook, line, and sinker. It was very intense at times, and everyone delivered.
Everyone brought it. And I liked all the characters were perfectly fit. I think did a good job.
At first, I didn't really get his friend and the sister of one of the zombie kids, like their whole prom night date.
Yeah,
I didn't really get the point of that. But then I guess I thought it was a pretty cool contrast to his prom night day.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing like this is like the best night of this kid's life. He's like getting high and drinking with this like smoking hot chick who he's really into, and this other kid's like getting tortured mercilessly.
Yeah, going back and forth between the prom. It was also, I think it was just like a visual break for us to like take a second, take a breather from all this intensity that's going on.
Yeah.
And then tying it into
like the vague link of the brother.
Yeah, the link of the brother, and then it made the end of the movie that much more significant. And I didn't think it was too much of a problem going back and forth. I think I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this movie would have been very different if they had tried to maintain the pace of having the whole thing set in the house with Lola, the father, and Brent. And I think by cutting back and forth to the prom, I liked those cuts. I didn't like the mom cuts so much. We can talk about that. But because they had like the prom cuts, this is also kind of another way where it sort of feels like May, where there's just enough like humor in it to keep this watchable instead of just being a straight torture porn, like nails in the floor.
I don't know how I was even laughing at some of the shit that was happening, but it was really comical.
This sounds stay with me for a second, because this is going to sound strange.
Okay, we're in. All right, I got 1 second for you.
Would you agree there is something funny about how pathetic Brent looks as he's being...
Yes, kind of.
I know that sounds heartless.
That was bad, dude.
Isn't there something funny about how pathetic Brent looks when he's nailed to the chair with the like kazoo coming out of his face?
It's
Oh, okay,
hilarious.
that shot specifically is
Yeah,
amazing.
Because
shot
he's so
specifically.
pale and pained looking, and like his lips are dry and he's like bloody, yet he's wearing a tissue paper crown and
he
he's
has to
covered
blow
in
on the
glitter
horn.
and he's blowing on like a party blower. It was
Barely
just
unravels. Doesn't make a noise.
such a contrast,
I
but
feel like
kind
less
of
of a
comical.
monster now, so thank you for agreeing that there was something funny about him trying to blow the party horn.
Yeah, no, that was good. I thought the cinematography in this movie was spot on. Like, it was so good. I loved the way the inside, like the kitchen, that was there the whole time. I love the touch of the disco ball.
The lighting and the
lighting,
colors,
it was
which
so
I know
vibrant.
is something you're always a fan of in movies.
It was beautifully vibrant. I loved the disco ball, how it was on the whole time. It just kept this this motion going on the whole time. Like, everything was constantly moving, and nothing was ever stopping when you were there. And I feel like that helped with the intensity. And I just loved all the power shots. Like all those, like the low angle shots of like her with the drill, and there was just a couple of moments where they put out some hero shots for her, like in these really they made her very intimidating.
Yeah, definitely.
It was just really good. Like, they made that room feel so big at times and so
Yes.
small in others. Like, it was fantastically shot.
Very effective.
Yeah, I was very impressed.
when he escapes the first time and she's like throwing rocks at him. I don't know. I just feel like that was such a testament to her insanity.
Her animalistic desire.
Yeah, she's like hucking these huge rocks at him and laughing like
she's
maniacally.
delighted to be throwing these rocks.
So scary.
It was like, oh, this is the first time this has happened, and she tried it. She's like, oh, I like this. I kind of like when they almost get away because I get to throw stuff at them. Like, oh, she was so titillated.
It's like, if Brent didn't survive this one, then the next kidnap victim would have had rocks thrown at them.
Yeah,
they would have been thrown up in a tree.
Well, they would have been like, I feel like what would have happened the next time would be like he comes to, and all of a sudden he can just run away, and then they're just like waiting. They're just going to get bolder and bolder if they keep going down this road.
And right after they capture him and bring him back into the home, I believe this is when it happens chronologically, is probably one of my favorite scenes, when her and her father have that quivering dance together.
After he crowns them prom king and queen.
Yeah, and
It's so
she's
gross.
just like, he's totally disappointing. You're my real prince.
Yeah.
And then they almost kiss.
Almost kiss.
Oh, God, it's so upsetting.
And Brent like falls in his chair and like
Yeah.
ruins the moment.
Well, and then there was the moment before when she was changing into her prom dress that her dad got her, and he was like feeling guilty about sneaking peeks. But she was like,
he feeling guilty?
I think he was.
Yeah, because he was about to leave the room and she was like, tell me how it looks.
And he's like, shit, I have to fuck. All right. Like I felt this resistance, like he was really into it, but he knows he shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Which makes me probably made me feel that he wasn't the insane one originally, because he's the one that kind of wavered a bit.
And
unless
she's
it
like,
came to her.
she's leading him on.
Yeah.
She's
leading him
into
on.
it.
To her bidding.
Barf. Barf,
So
barf, barf.
barftastic. I really loved like all the taunting too. Kind of to umbrella under her moments of laughable insanity. Like when they put the syringe in his neck and
Yeah.
he's trying to yell and she's like, we can't hear you.
Oh, I love the we can't hear you.
So
Oh.
creepy and disturbing.
Yeah, that's messed up. They did that a couple times too, which well placed. They didn't kill it either.
Sorry, I just wanted to get that in there. It's not a favorite part, but it's kind of an umbrella of
Of success.
yeah.
I like how that
success.
contrasts like Lola's, like May's like childlike innocence to Lola's like childlike assholishness.
Oh, she's totally a brat.
cruel-
Oh, a total brat. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah, when she's going through the photo album and she's talking about the kid who peed his pants, and she was like, he wet himself. It was so funny. And she's like laughing as she's saying it, and this kid's like mutilated in this picture.
And the dad's laughing too. He's like, ha ha ha. But I feel like he's laughing because he feels like he has to.
Yeah, 'cause she'll kill him if he doesn't.
Yeah, and then I think she's flipping through the book too, and she's like, huh, he was boring.
Boring.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God.
Just
she's so
such
insane.
like callous insanity.
Some failures.
I really like the music in this movie too. I
Yes.
feel like they both.
Do you want to sing the song, Brittany?
You know you want it.
Am I not pretty enough? Just go look it up.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It's too good.
Big fan of contrasting music, and this just nails it.
Yeah, everything from like the metal he was listening to just the score
Yeah.
to the prom scene, like every musical choice I thought was ace.
Mm-hmm.
Liked it.
Definitely. Any failures, guys? Anything that we thought we want to talk about where the movie didn't do it right?
You know, I kind of mentioned this before, but I didn't like when they would cut back to the mom's point of view. So Brent's mom and then Brent's girlfriend Holly, like they cut
moles.
I mean, her moles are a failure. Her moles are a failure. I'm done.
Tapping out?
Sorry.
All right, podcast.
No,
is
I
over.
agree with
Listen.
you. The mom didn't bring anything to the table.
No, she was the worst. She was like, you killed your dad. I mean, in not so many words.
Killed your dad. I mean, I love you.
Lots of pained looks for like 20 minutes, you know?
She was kind of ghoulish
So
looking.
for me,
Yeah.
that was one, and that was just because it was just. Like I said, I was happy to get out of the house a little bit to switch to prom scene, but then when it's just switching to mom, like calling for Brent out in the outback, it's like, okay, this is kind of pointless.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is just sort of, I think, a failure of the genre not specific to this movie is when everyone just starts becoming a vigilante at the end and not following due process. Like the cop showing up just on his own.
By himself. I was
and-
like, what are you doing?
Well,
It's like rule number 1.
Well,
call for backup.
how many? But see, I mean, I guess he had a chance to call for backup when he saw the bloody room. But
Like,
I mean, he
you
just
knew
got
this-
a tip from someone who was from Holly, who was just like, "Hey, he said this person's name the day it
but
happened."
I mean, you found his dog like bashed to death, and then you found his personal belongings, and then you finally get a tip about who might have done it, and you just go by yourself. Like, come on.
well, he had something to prove, so he was trying to do it, you know.
That's
and he had
true.
just seen his daughter come home from prom, the one whose brother went missing, his son, and she was all broken up about it, like, "Oh, well, why couldn't you find him?" And so then he felt he had to compensate for something. He got a tip, and he's like, "I'm going to do this.
This time it's personal.
This is now, and I'm going to do it." But yeah, I mean, another part that I don't think it's necessarily a failure, but it's a question if it was absolutely necessary, and that's the basement zombies. Necessary? I don't know. I think I like the idea more of her wasting these guys and not saving them. You know, or maybe they kept trying to do this experiment where they're boiling brains and it wasn't working, and maybe like the bright eyes worked, so her mom was there, but like they were still trying to figure out how to do it right. I don't know.
Yeah, I think basement zombies, my beef with that is just how all these zombies and that they're making zombie noises. They are still alive, but yet they're doing like the raptor screech. Like it's like their vocal cords have totally changed. I don't like
Well,
that.
they
think
did do
that's
the
the-
shots in the throat, so it was like was that like a kitchen sink chemical?
Yeah,
They
it
just
looked like
injected
Drano.
into his throat.
Oh.
That's why he was all like, "Wah."
Yeah, they sound like pterodactyls. Like, legit. Because I know exactly what a pterodactyl sound like. I hear them every day. But yeah, no, I just didn't think that was totally necessary to make this like. It didn't hurt it, I guess.
I'm
but
trying to think what they could have done instead.
like she just murders these people. But I know that like that was an important step in the process. So I felt like maybe I don't know, maybe it just doesn't work all the time, and then there's not like everyone she's killed down there or something. You know, I don't know.
I feel like it was just to show how depraved they are and how little
Yeah.
regard they have for human life.
I mean, that was
It's just
pretty
like
much
a-
out there already.
It's just like a joke to them. They're like, haha, now we're going to keep you in a pit and feed you dead roadkill and make you sing for your supper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess she doesn't want to kill them because she wants to fully possess them.
Yeah.
Control their everything.
Like, they don't want her, but now she can have them forever.
Yeah, in some ways, death would be like a release from that.
Oh, she's a psycho. Can we talk about the horrible placement of that goth girl's nose ring? I thought
Elaborate. I don't remember. Where
it
was
was like right like here. Like it wasn't even in her nose. It looked like it was
the
like on her
listeners-
For the
cheek.
listeners.
Brittany is pointing at her face.
Okay, so go to the nasal fold where your nostril is, and then go up like half an inch. And like that's where her nose ring was.
No,
I thought it was
didn't even notice.
Was it another mole? Are we sure?
I thought it was mole. I was like, what the fuck is that? But I'm pretty sure it glistened, so
It was a glitter mole.
jury's still out on that.
Any other failures, guys? Anything else we want to discuss?
I really didn't have any failures.
Yeah, I mean, nothing brought either of these movies down. But I mean, I don't know. I guess there were a couple things that maybe would have made it better if omitted.
I think I would have liked more time spent with either Brent or Lola before the actual carnage started in this movie.
Okay.
I don't think we spent enough time with Brent to really get a whole lot of sympathy with
Really?
him. I don't know. I mean, we got maybe like 15, 20 minutes with him. And I never really felt like we got to know him very well.
Oh, I thought
I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
maybe
It could just be because we watched May, which spends a lot of time on the build-up.
True.
So in
effectively.
contrast,
So
I felt that way about Lola. Like, I would have liked to see how Lola handled herself at school. Was she how did people in the school think of her? That's what.
Yeah.
yeah, like how is she
Yeah.
perceived?
Because she's so batshit. Like, from everything we see, it made me wonder how she like keeps it together in the day to
I
day.
feel like she must seem relatively normal because when she approached him, he wasn't like put off by it. Like she startled him, but I think her presence just startled him. And he didn't seem like put off by it or like super weirded out by it. He was just like, oh, sorry, Lola.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, if anything, he even seemed kind of considerate about not revealing that she
Yeah.
asked him out.
He wasn't a
Yeah.
dickhead about
Yeah.
it
That's
at all.
true.
Yeah, he didn't even want to tell his girlfriend her name. He was just like somebody.
What a good dude, right? That's a good guy, Brent. It didn't have to be. But I mean, I guess I thought the setup was appropriate. I felt connected enough, considering that the movie was an hour and 18 minutes.
That's true.
The perfect length.
Perfect. Oh
Perfect.
man, 78 minutes. This is the best 78-minute movie I've ever seen. 78-minute and 20-second movie I've ever seen. And that's exactly how long it is. You can look it up. I guess we can go into favorite parts. We have no failures to hit on anymore.
I have a whole bunch of favorite parts.
All right, well, let her rip.
When Brent says that he has to go to the bathroom and she's trying to make him pee in the glass and she gives him 10 seconds or her dad's going to hammer his dick to the chair.
Yeah.
That was pretty terrifying. But more than that, after he started peeing, she was like eye level with his penis and was like, it's crying.
Yes.
And then she was like,
Yes.
I'm going to kiss it better with her fucking creepy milk mustache while her dad is watching. I was like, oh, this is so unsettling.
Dude, and the dad was getting so jealous every time something happened like that. Like she mounted him and was screaming at him, and he was like getting jealous as he, and he was using that jealousy to fuel his pain towards him even more. Him being Brent.
So creepy.
I was surprised the dad let it go that far, that he didn't react more physically when she's like, it's crying.
I don't get the impression that she gets told no a whole lot, so it
True.
doesn't really surprise me.
Yeah, definitely not.
Obviously, when Brent fights back, that was great.
Yeah, so his ultimate escape.
Yeah, he
Yeah, that
has
was so
like
good.
a little razor blade that he wears on a necklace, and he was using it to cut loose, and he finally cuts loose and then slashes the dad's face open from like neck to nose. Just
Yeah.
gushing blood, and then he throws a drill gun at his face
That was awesome.
and then stabs him in the neck like 100 times,
That
which
was-
was ultimately satisfying.
It was so nightmarish because he was moving all weird because they cracked his lobe. So he was all like, I mean, obviously he's had
Very stiff.
knives, yeah, and he was just, it was hard for him to move, and he was able to just muster up enough energy to get this done, and it felt like that's what it feels like in a nightmare when you're really struggling to do something, and it's kind of really hard to do, but sometimes you can pull it off, sometimes you can't, and he pulled it off.
Yeah, that was scary.
Yeah, that was really good.
After Lola gets hit by the car and continues to chase.
Very good.
So Brent manages to accidentally hit Lola with a car during like his final escape, and she continues to like pursue him with a knife in hand, and her other wrist just completely like broken in half.
Yeah.
She's like crawling.
Yeah, army
On all
crawling across
fours.
the room.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
really
was
good.
great.
Yeah, the end.
The
of movie
comedic
was
timing
great.
on that. It was a wide shot, so like you see the car on the far left of the screen, and then you just see her like slowly knifing her way across the road.
Yeah,
Into frame, like
yeah,
from the side, her like bright pink obnoxious dress.
very, very comedic.
I really loved when he's backing the car into her and how long it takes for the car to hit her. It's just like a slow like zoom in on her eyes.
Yeah.
She's like all crazed
Slow
looking.
push. Yeah, that goes with the cinematography too. You know, how hard a shot like that is.
That was great. The photo album part I thought was creepy. We talked a little bit about that. How she was just mocking everyone, like boring. He wet himself. When she leans over the pit and she picks up his necklace and then she's like, I'm going to your house to stab your mummy in the neck like you did to my daddy. I was like, that is so scary because her eyes were just like blank, like devoid of life. She looked so psychotic.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was great.
And he had nothing to do. He could do nothing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just stuck in this hole. What about you, Eric?
I thought I already said something, Tom.
No, it's okay. I was saying that this movie isn't necessarily up your street, right? You don't necessarily, you can't, the torture thing, the torture
Yeah,
horror.
it's not usually my favorite thing. So I don't really have a whole lot listed in terms of favorite stuff. I did like every scene with the best friend.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't crazy about it at first when I began to see that it maybe wasn't going to tie into the main plot. Once they actually made things tie together near the end, I was like, okay, there was a payoff there. But I just thought those scenes were hilarious. Where like it's he goes to prom, but
Yeah.
like nothing
10
actually
minutes.
nothing actually happens at the prom. He's just having a rocking good time. But,
Yeah.
Getting a sweet handy over the pants, HJ.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the handy J.
Yeah.
OTP HJ.
Yeah. Found you have anything else favorite parts wise?
Favorite parts, just the tension, everything we're talking about of when he actually does get the drill to the skull, because at least three of us had seen this movie before, and even knowing that was actually going to happen, I remembered that feeling of the first time I saw this movie, where I was like, they're not actually going to do it. The drill's going to die. Something's going to stop. I'm like, nope. Okay, they just did that. He just got drilled in the brain or drilled through the skull, and.
I did like that it took a couple of tries, though, for him to get it right.
Yeah.
They fucked up with the drill once.
I like how they built tension like that. They kind of gave him time to like plan his escape.
There was a lot of uncomfortable, I'll say the word penetration in both of these movies, because the other one there's
The fake knife.
scissors, fake knife, the fake knife, the fake knife, foreplay, and then of course the scissor in the eye. So that's actually what I mean. That's actually what I was thinking of when I was like, there is just horrible like penetrative moments in this movie of just drills in the brain where like you actually saw like the smoke coming up.
Oh yeah, on the skull there. Yeah.
Yes,
and the noise it made too is not.
That probably smells like dental work.
Oh, gross! Smells like a dentist's office.
I loved the tension of that though. It was like she does it, but she doesn't do it enough, and then she goes to pour the water in and like spills it on the dad, and then she goes to pour the water in again.
Yep.
She's like, "Oh, can you make the hole bigger?"
Yeah,
and like that's what gives him his chance to escape.
Yeah, they tickled us with hope and then took it away a little bit.
Yeah, they were like, all these horrible things. Just kidding. He can escape now.
No, they did a really good job with that.
Yeah, in some ways, they played up well with the fact that anticipation is usually scarier than the actual event.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was very well done. I'll give them credit for that, for sure.
Absolutely. Actually, do we have any questions? I've got a couple questions that we can compare to the two movies too.
Okay.
Sure.
let's hear it.
Okay. We kind of touched on it a little bit already, but officially we can talk about it. Who is unhinged more by the end of the movie? Lola or May? Like, who loses it more? Who's crazier? Think about the ultimate actions.
I think May. I think Lola is leagues and miles crazier than May is, but from how May starts as a person to where she ends up is a greater change.
Okay.
I don't think Lola changes in craziness that much. I think she's always just batshit.
I agree with you. I have the same.
Yeah.
I don't think she ever really had the opportunity to like chase someone down and go after like all these peripheral characters, which is probably what makes her carnage seem larger overall.
I mean, yeah, okay. I can agree that Lola's probably crazier, but I don't want to devalue how crazy May became because she killed a bunch of people, chopped off their body parts, and sewed them together
To make a friend.
and cut out her own eye to stick on this thing.
Yeah.
You know,
the self-mutilation brings it to kind of a different level. And then even the very last shot of May as May is dying, I guess, we kind of see like May, I guess, fantasizing that the hand of her doll friend is hugging her or like touching her.
Yeah.
Brushing her cheek.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, so we're led to believe that she's just lost her mind by the end of this, correct?
Well, she definitely lost her eye, that we know.
Her hind.
So I mean...
May's more of like a functioning alcoholic. You know?
She's walking the walk every day.
It's one step at a time.
That's a good point too, because if you think about it, more people were off put by May in normal circumstances, whereas Lola was totally skating under the rug and no one had any idea.
That's because she's a true psychopath.
I know. It's
Seems like a person like that can escape in the halls of a high school too. Whereas like a character like May, when she has to interact with real people, it's going to be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What's the matter with you?
yeah. Good point. I mean,
Poor May. I just feel so bad for her.
How old is May supposed to be?
That's
roughly?
actually, I was wondering about that too. My guess would probably be like early to mid 20s.
Yeah.
That was my estimation.
I would say mid 20s.
Yeah. I was thinking like 25, 26.
Yeah.
The people she interacts with have like that 21 to 25 douchebag kind of feel.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And Lola was 17, 18.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because he was saying he just finished the movie he made when he dropped out of college, right?
Yeah, and she's a vet tech, and everyone's
So they're probably like...
25.
Yeah.
How about that?
All right. The other question I had was, who has the better process, and or which is more effective for our psychopaths? Who has the better process?
Well, if we're talking about straight efficiency, a scalpel to the neck is very quick.
Yes, but ultimately, but they're like, taking into consideration their end goals, like what they want to do.
The end goals, I have to say, Lola is probably more effective. She's been doing this, it seems like, for like over 10 years. No one is on her radar. And clearly, like, the house of cards was about to crumble for May. She's killing in her immediate circle, all people she knows.
Yeah.
It was going to come back on her.
Yeah, I could see that. But so if we took Lola's dad out of the equation, she couldn't get nearly as much shit done. Like, they are a team
Agreed.
about it. May, totally self-sufficient. You know, so I feel
very type A for that kind of character. Very strange.
Yeah, I mean, she just comes up with this and was like, okay, well, I think I know what I need to do here, and then she just goes out and she just does it, and she's basically got these skills she's collected through her whole life that come into play for her ultimate satisfaction that she didn't even know she was building towards.
Yeah, I think hers was kind of a last resort thing. Whereas Lola, in like her first picture in her photo album, she's like 8 years old. I don't know what kind of motivations an 8-year-old could possibly have to like kidnap and murder people.
Have you met an 8-year-old before? If they had the capacity to do so, they would murder your ass.
Like, it couldn't be like sexual motivation or I don't know. It just doesn't.
No.
Yeah, I had some questions about like what the true motivation was of Lola.
Yeah,
Wasn't
was
really
she
sure I
always
felt
just
it.
a deranged kid and like that's how it manifested itself?
I think so. I'm not sure she was as young as 8 either. I mean, this could have been a very pubescent thing as well. I mean, her getting that.
When she met her
Theo.
dark passenger.
Yes, her dad. Yeah, okay, so I don't really have any other questions. I just wanted to chat a little bit about their process, you know, what they do.
Now, you mentioned Lola's dad, and there's clearly like a weird incestuous thing going on there.
Incest.
Clearly.
Now, with May, we don't really get a whole lot of information about her parents aside from the early information we get about her mother is clearly domineering. We only get like one shot of her dad, and he seems to be like this working class kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I kind of got the same vibe from Adam. Do you think there was like kind of like a weird like electric complex thing kind of going on there too?
Oh.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Right up your alley.
I know.
the one-
Finally, I've been waiting for the conversation to
Listen,
get here.
not everything is transparent as a Godfrey Hill monster movie when it comes to talking about giant dicks. So
Giant snake riding. Well, yeah, because her dad seemed to give her mom the eye roll every time she was overbearing and being ridiculous. So it would make sense that she was drawn to someone.
I'd be looking for a man like that.
Yeah. Just an average guy.
That's true. Adam was literally a mechanic, wasn't he?
I think
he was,
yeah.
yep.
Can we all just take a moment to mourn the fact that May dated Adam and then died a virgin?
Wait, we don't know if she's dead.
True. Touche.
But no, I understand. That's
And
That's
we don't-
truly a
And
shame.
we don't know what she
That's a
did
real
with her
sad
new
life.
friend she made.
What?
Oh, nothing.
Oh boy, I can't wait to hear that on the recording because I missed it too.
Like, her and Polly might have did it, but I don't know. I feel like it's not the same.
Well, I feel like, too, actually, so I'm glad you mentioned that because, so May's sexuality, kind of omnisexual.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she wasn't really, that didn't really drive her. She just wanted affection or attention.
Exactly. I felt like
Yeah.
whoever was going to give her that
Yeah.
affection was
And-
who she was going to go to.
she only admired pieces of people. Like, oh, you've got great hands. I love your neck. Like, so that was this just completely.
Nice gams.
Yeah, it didn't. There was no. Yeah, there's no gender
Yeah.
involved.
I know we haven't been talking about it, but I would say that's definitely like a risk for this movie. Like that was just kind of there in the background. It didn't make a big deal of it one way or the other, and it was just like an element to a shade.
Yeah, in May too, because I noticed, like, I was like, I kind of like the flip here, where the stalker is this girl objectifying this man. Like, that's kind of cool to watch. But then it was
Fixating.
Yeah, but I was like, but then she just does it to everybody. You know, I thought that was cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what's kind of the true tragedy of May is that if she had run into Jujubee's guy first and there wasn't a dead cat in her freezer, this might be a very different story. Because he
Very
kind of
true.
appreciated her just unconditionally. Like, she just wanted a
Her
friend.
honesty and
Yeah.
Oh, God, that guy was so weird.
Get some
guy was very
jujubes
strange.
with
He
me?
just wanted to ice his nipples. That's all he wanted. If the man had controlled himself and didn't want to ice his nips, he would still be alive.
I really want to know if that was like a sexual thing or if he was really just weird.
He was just equally weird.
Like,
yeah, I
that's
got
what he
that
does
vibe.
when
No.
he goes to all of his buddies' house. Like, hey, man, get the iced.
Like, I don't think it was summer because Halloween was shortly thereafter.
No, I think it was a sexual thing. I think he definitely, I mean...
Like, she invited me back to her
Yeah,
apartment.
I
I'm gonna
think-
pop the shirt off.
his mesh shirt that was burning him up. You know, I love that.
His hair was disgusting.
It was really gross.
It was like
But
he poured Crisco on it.
think of almost the entire reason for her downfall was because that guy wanted to put cubes on on his nips.
Yeah.
That was the tipping point.
Cause and effect is an interesting thing.
Right?
If she was a less awkward person, she probably could have made up a lie on the spot. Like,
But I work out at an animal thing. And
my cat died. I have to bring him there like Monday when I go back to work or something. I mean, it's still fucking weird,
Yeah.
but
He's like, no, I don't want to be friends with you. I'm like, God,
freak.
that was mean. That was
I
He
know.
got really mean.
And she was just like crying. Like, she didn't even snap at first. She was just like, and then she saw the scissors and was like, well, might as well kill this guy.
Only one option left.
Can't stand any more rejection. Here we go.
All right, so back to the loved ones.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Talking about
we
now.
never rated that,
Right.
did we?
We have to rate it. All right, let's rate it.
Rat.
So let's rate it then.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with
Yeah,
fuck
I'm gonna
you.
have to give it an unfortunate fuck off.
Oh my god, my fucking father.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
All right, loved ones, the loved ones, 2009. Let's rate it. Let's go reverse order. So I'll start, and I'm gonna give it a fuck yeah, because this movie it's full throttle. I saw this movie. It totally wowed me. I've told everyone that I know to watch it. Just oh my god, you need to check this movie out. It's really good. It's a good time. Australian picture, which I'm not sure we see a lot of. I haven't seen a lot of Australian movies, so I don't really know how it fits into the rest of the culture, but I know it totally translated perfectly fine. Yeah, just really good, intense movie with some good comedic breaks.
Yeah, I feel like if this is a movie you go into expecting nothing or don't know what to expect, you'll probably be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
As we were.
definitely. All right, so reverse order, that means Fallon's next.
Also, fuck yeah, funny, weird, violent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incestual undertone. So it has everything.
Real good, creepy dad-daughter relationship.
It's good stuff.
What more could you ask for?
Eric, what do you give this?
I think when I had left the room from us watching it, I was ready to give this a fuck off, but the discussion of it makes me want to give it a little more credit. You had mentioned, these kind of torture horror movies don't really do much for me. It's not really my genre. But I think I'll probably bump my rating up to a fuck yes.
Oh,
because
wow.
I feel like
Oh.
it's a pretty well executed version of this concept. Even if it's not my thing, I could say, hey, you like Saw movies, should try this one. This is really this would be really up your alley. And I mean, if I had to rate it objectively, that's what I would say.
I was a little worried you would be put off by the torture bits.
Yeah, but I thought it was, in a weird way, light enough at times. To,
Yeah,
I
it
feel like
was-
there's enough of other complexities to like kind of take the focus off of the torture,
Yeah,
even though
it's-
it's pretty bad.
It's not 80 minutes of just dense torture scenes,
Yeah,
which would have been a difficult watch.
not hostile. yeah.
So yeah, it's not. It's certainly I could take it. It wasn't that bad.
The when I was saying it was it's kind of light relatively, the scene that was running through my head was when he was just in this chair and they were just throwing glitter on him. I was like, well, it's not that bad.
Oh, and they were like fake dancing.
They were like dancing and he's just getting showered and
the
glitter.
dad's like standing on a chair, like
and you saw like all the glittery bloody mess on the ground.
Yeah, it's the dark comedic moments like that made me say, okay, well, this is I can take this. This is kind of fun. Kind of in the same way that this is gonna sound ridiculous. I don't like torture horror movies, but I love Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat has like a really thick run of like
You don't
dark
have to
comedy.
justify.
Right? All right, Brittany, what do you give it?
I want to give it a fuck yeah for obvious reasons.
Okay. Done. All right.
Finger licking good.
This movie was fucking finger licking good.
I was gonna give it that, but
But you want to keep it with fuck yeah, but we don't have the sweep. This movie,
Sorry,
Loved Ones didn't get
folks.
the sweep. A- from Eric. Any final thoughts on the Loved Ones, guys? Anything you want to squeeze in there?
oh, I read that this was the 30th on Rotten Tomatoes top 100 horror movies.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
I know. I didn't expect it to be that high.
I think this is the most horror movie we've watched this month,
sure.
probably. Maybe Stitches is like a close second, but that's comedy too. But this one was definitely the most horror. I have a final thought. That applies to both movies. That if you want to see how crazy a girl is, just see how she plays with dolls.
Yeah, they both had some weird doll play going on.
Give a young girl who you're unsure about, give her some dolls and see what she does with them, and then it'll be like, okay, no, she's a nutcase. Get her out of here. Or no,
Tell how psychopathic.
they're just playing house. She's good. As one mounting the other with a missing head. Okay, there's a problem here.
I really loved. Sorry to go back to this, but I really loved in May after like her and Adam are over for sure. She goes back to her apartment. And she cuts the hands off that guy doll. It was like boxing glove hands, the one she was like using to pretend to be Adam earlier. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, her ultimate goal.
A little foreshadowing there.
Yeah.
And I love how, sorry,
No.
how like as their relationship devolved, she started just addressing his hands.
I need to take them,
See
Adam.
you later, hands. Bye.
Which I felt was so real. Like I thought that was something that a woman would actually do.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I totally get it. It was fantastic. Any other final
I can
thoughts?
appreciate a pair of nice hands.
Any final thoughts regarding either movie?
So The Loved Ones came out in 2009 and May came out in 2002.
Yes.
Do you think The Loved Ones took any influence from May? Like, do you think the filmmakers might have seen May and said, hey, you know what, we could do like a more straight horror movie with kind of a similar concept? Just based on the number of parallels we managed to draw. Like, there's a lot similar between these two movies.
Stylistically, they're similar movies because they've chosen to use a woman as a villain.
You're very like us with that, the woman.
Sorry.
Chose to use a woman.
Fallon, what do you think?
I feel like the way they approach it is so different that I would say probably not.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this filmmaker watched May and was like, hey, that's a cool idea. But I'm not sure if he pulled directly for it.
Yeah,
I don't know. But
could just be like a series of coincidences thematically.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not saying that sarcastically either. Like, it could just legitimately be like they both use dolls.
Yeah,
plenty of movies have dolls.
Well, I was gonna,
like Doomhouse.
Doll man.
Well, if you're talking about how a young girl grows up to be crazy, a good way to portray that is through dolls. I mean, because what else do they have?
Act out their aggression.
Super
They're
Nintendo.
only friends.
Oh, did you say that Lucky McKee's other movie was really good too?
Yeah, The Woman.
Oh, I have to check that out.
Another complicated female movie.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Check it out. So if we don't have any final thoughts, we can wrap ourselves up here. All right. Well, let's wrap it up because everyone's just sighing and looking into the beyond.
We have a Seagal movie to watch.
It's true.
It's true. We got to get.
We did a lot of movie watching today.
Yeah, we watched
two good
movies.
ones.
2 good movies, and thanks Fallon for coming on and watching 2 good movies.
Thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate you coming by. I didn't even know that you had seen both of these movies before, so that was very cool.
Very happy to watch them again.
Yeah. It's right around the same time we should be doing this.
Yeah, these are 2 we wanted to get in for Halloween anyway.
Yeah, so it's a good excuse to get them in. All right, so that's it. If you like more information on Second Class Cinema, come to Facebook, facebook.com/secondclasscinema. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and secondclasscinema.com. We're also on Twitter and Instagram. Done.
Trucking along for Horror Month.
Yeah, keep it on with Horror Movie Month. We're trying to get as many in as we can. That's it, guys. Say your goodbyes.
Don't worry, I'll be picking a machine gun movie again very soon.
You're picking a what?
I'll pick a machine gun movie very soon. Don't worry about it, you guys.
Machine gun movie?
Yeah, all the movies I pick are machine gun movies.
What does that mean?
They have machine guns in them.
Oh. Okay, yeah. They
Duh.
do. Oh, my bad. Okay, it's exactly what you meant it to be. Literal. I get you.
Is my heart too broken? Do I cry too much? Am I too outspoken? Don't I make you laugh? Should I try it harder? Why do you
When I find my prince, this is the song we're gonna dance to at my wedding.